The new Icebox is fresh, fun, and interesting. I hate the new Icebox. I think it's unnecessary what they did, and I think it sucks. But rather than sit here and whine about it, why don't we try and find some lineups to make it just a little bit easier? So we're going to be doing something a little bit different on this lineup video. Instead of me just doing a voiceover over pre-recorded lineups that I found in my own time, we're going to be doing a bit of live commentary just as a way to explain the lineups, why I think they're useful, and what situations you can use them in. As a byproduct, I do a lot of slurring of my words. It's very easy to cut it out when I do multiple takes of a single recording. That's not gonna happen on this one, so apologies in advance. So the way that defense holds on B Site has changed, I would say, quite a bit. And there's now more angles for them to really hold, and most of them kind of rely on yellow box and the way that you play around it. Chambers, Jets love to play up here. They can teleport, up dash up here. They get a very nice angle on both sides here. They can just take a shot. If they're holding Op or Vandal, teleport, dash away, get the best first contact that they can really get. There's other ways to hold it too. You can hide behind yellow like you could before, or you can come up here, wait for movement, first contact this door, second contact this door, and then drop down, maybe do something like this or back up after you've gotten all your info. So there is one lineup that I figured out that will cover all three of those angles. Once the round starts, get into this corner here, wait for the barriers to drop, and then once you do, you're gonna have to line up the lobbing arrow you can see in the bottom middle there with this box right here. So once you do the lineup, just line it with the bottom left side of that box. It's very forgiving, not exactly precise in the way that you have to throw it, but go ahead, do the toss, and it'll land on this corner of the box here. I would say that there are other ways of doing it. There is a lineup you could do to get it in these barrels, but most of the time, every single time I've tried to throw it, they've landed in between the barrels or on outside the barrels. And while this does cover the aggressive, cubby, it doesn't cover the top of this. You can do a very cheeky jump peek and still get that information. It's harder to do, not as consistent, and I think doesn't give you as much reward as the other lineup. But it's there. I'm gonna show it here if you really wanted to do it, but I wouldn't recommend it in just about every scenario. I'd say that getting it on top of those boxes is gonna work for you on just about every round. Just know how the defense can play against it. Like I said, they can still hide inside the smoke, and then if you don't check it or don't put some shots into it to pressure them, they can just stay there until you guys walk all the way up and maybe get a couple kills there. You can hide in cubby. You can, still, I guess, shoot down long with no information though, so just be mindful of people taking pot shots through it. But the smoke does a lot for you. I think it's a really good smoke. Yeah. Now, even after you capture B main, there is still quite some more work to be done. The site itself has changed quite a bit, namely the window and under the window. The window itself has moved quite a bit to the right. You get a very nice sight line between, everything. Now, Viper's wall hasn't changed. It's still going to be that one where you just line it up with the diagonal of that wall there, and you give yourself just a little bit of a corner in order to plant the bomb with. That hasn't changed, and it probably never will. But the real difference is that the wall is a lot weaker on its own for those two reasons. Reason one, even with the wall being up, someone can just now hide in this corner, wait for someone to actually plant the bomb, and then just fire through when they hear the planting start. You can maybe go a little bit farther left, forward, maybe up here as far as this, but you still run the risk that, they can just hear you moving up and planting the bomb in that corner, and then they just adjust accordingly. And then another issue is that because window itself has been pushed so far to the right, and honestly, I can't confirm it, I don't know, but it feels like it's a little bit higher. You don't really have to think about where they are. You can just hear them planting the bomb. Maybe you're holding something like this. You just peek out, fire through like you do under, and the person planting the bomb is just in a lot of trouble. As the Viper, there are some extra steps that you can take to ensure that getting to the site is a lot easier. Obviously the wall, but with your Viper Orb? The second I do these recordings, I just don't remember the names of anything. So with your Q, there is actually a lineup that you can do to help get onto the site as well. So you just go ahead and grab it. Maybe, you know, you toss it onto this corner, you used it to push up. You come up, you pick it up, and you step on these barrels here. And all you're doing is you're looking for this star right here. Now, I'm gonna get an operator just to show it a little bit better. You can use this large star as a point of reference. Just go down and to the right, and you'll see a little bit of a glow here. Luckily, the lineup isn't too precise. All you need to do is just line up your crosshair with the middle of that star. Don't have to do any jumping or anything. And what this lineup is going to do is it's going to land on top of this box here. And what the lineup does is it makes it a very nice one-way for anyone trying to push through window. They can't see anything. They have no opportunity to see anything unless they hold this corner right here. But you know, it's a dangerous corner to hold. It's covered by people, you know, pushing through yellow, anyone pushing through the right side of here. It's very risky. What that lineup does is it makes it to where anyone that's peeking can just see the legs and punish accordingly. It's a very nice one-way.
Like, I can't see anything, and it's not decaying. And now it's decaying.
Yeah, oh, I can see the effect.
Right here is the barrier.
And with the orb combined with the wall...
I can't see shit in Detroit.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that does work then. However, there still is under the window that is a major problem. So we do have something for under the window as well, albeit you do have to commit your orb as well. Maybe, maybe not. I've yet to really figure out if just the poison is enough to do it. But for the orb, if you want to throw it down into the bottom without any risk, what you want to do, jump up on the top, just line up your crosshair looking straight down with, I guess, you know, the box itself matching with, you know, the first floor. I don't know what to really call it, but, you know, line up your crosshair between the two. And once you do that, all you need to do is look up and then line your crosshair up with that little corner in the top right. You'll see it. It's a little triangle that kind of just pushes in. Just line up with the middle of that. No jumping required as well. And what this is going to do is it's going to land right here. So after you throw the orb up here, drop on down to the other side of these barrels here, and all you need to do is just line up the middle of your crosshair with that little first, like, I would say, divot in the snow here. Let me see right here. I'll zoom in just to give you a little bit more of a better reference here. Once again, not very precise. Anywhere from here to here works. I just like to do it in the center and then fire it there. And I took my orb when I did it, but you can see that it lands directly right here. It'll cover anyone in the corner. It'll cover anyone actually trying to peek out, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the orb with it. I honestly think the fear of seeing this drop in front of you is gonna be enough to force you out, but
okay, I'll see.
Let's see.
Poison
orb emitting.
Oh dear.
And now there's nothing to do.
Now this.
Toxin screen down.
Oh yeah, huh?
Alright, so let's see.
Amazing.
Tagged me a little bit. I mean, honestly, can't be helped. My walls don't block bullets, but I mean, with sand sage wall, I think this is like the next best thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Moving on to the defense side of things. To be 100% with you, I would rather not be playing Viper on B side. I just think she's now better suited for A side almost entirely, and she just doesn't have nearly as many options as she used to before the change. But let's just say that, you know, for some reason your team doesn't want you to play A, you're the only one that can hold down B, something of the sort. You still have some things that you could do. With this being much wider than it was before, this lineup that you used to do no longer really works.
Poison orb emitting.
It covers a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, you have to be holding a bit of a weird angle in order to actually get it to work. You could hold back yellow, maybe near the box or on top of the box, and you'll get some success out of it, but I mean, for as important of a resource that your orb is, you may be able to use it for other things. Maybe on this corner, I've tried to do some stuff with this. It works to a certain extent. You could still see some footsteps here, but I mean, honestly, if you're sitting in this corner, you're not going to be getting much anyway. Maybe you'll be able to hear footsteps and back up accordingly, but at that point, I mean, you could have been replaced by just about anyone, right? It doesn't have to be the Viper that's doing it. I would say that there's really only one viable wall. There's different ones that you could do depending on the situation. Obviously, as a Viper main, it's very important that you change up your walls depending on the situation. But for a basic wall, this is the one that I think you'll get the most success out of. It'll be just, you know, coming up to this back corner. All you're doing is just lining up corners. Line up this corner with this corner and this corner. Those three corners are like the main three you need to do. Because what this will do is it'll completely wall off anyone that's trying to get to site. Essentially, you have to go through the wall if you're going to plant the bomb on B. And it makes it to where you have to cross it multiple times. Coming through short, you have to cross it at least twice. Coming in through here, the wall is down, but you'll get the point here. It'll tag you. It has to tag you when you're coming in through here. You'll cross it once, maybe cross it twice here.
Toxins going up.
It just gives you a little bit of options here. I'll show that with an enemy to make sure, you know, it's obvious that you have to get hit by it, but, you know, from here you can maybe hold boxes. It's very aggressive and honestly not worth it for you to you know, risk your life for something like a free trade or something like that. Maybe you want to just hold down yellow. This wall will help you do that. It'll isolate you from both left and right. Combined with your orb here, it forces them to have to at least have some poison on them when they take that fight with you. And on top of that, there are multiple angles you could be in when you have both of these up. For example, you know, obviously behind yellow box, but you could also be behind, you know, also be hiding on this top box right here. If they have a knack for getting on top of yellow, this is a very nice spot to shake it up. You can back up here. When you're with your wall up, you can hide in this corner. You know, maybe do some jump peeks like this, peek behind your wall if you know somebody's pushing, and then peek back behind it. You know, you get the picture. If, you know, all else fails, you can just back up completely and then just hide behind the window here, on top of window, or just play for retakes at this point. This wall is actually pretty solid for retakes as well, too, because it covers most of, basically their sight line. They have to be on top of here, on top of yellow, or maybe on top of this box in order to really get any meaningful shots off, right? They can just fire blindly through your wall, but I mean, at that point, you can do a counter sage wall, flashes. You have more options, right? You're not completely useless on this side. I think this wall is useful. If you have to do it, you can get a lot of good use out of it, and you could still, honestly, realistically hold down B site on your own with a setup like this. It's just you don't have a lot of leeway as far as changing it, right? It's not really any better walls than this. Maybe you hold a more divert angle like this. It gives them an opportunity to plant here, but it'll cover the corner. They can't do the sage wall. They still have to cross it multiple times, but you don't have that yellow control anymore. You still have to commit something like this. Maybe you can hide in the corner. Like I said, as a Viper main, you got to make sure that you have, you know, some ways to change it up situationally, and I just don't think you have as many options as you do on A. But if you want to play on B, I'm probably going to have to play on B myself because nobody wants to play on this site anymore. You have some options. Now for the part that everyone is waiting for, the post-plant lineups. The ones where you can just shoot something over in Timbuktu and prevent anyone from defusing the bomb over in America. It is the scummy tactic, and it's the thing that makes people really hate Viper, really, to be honest with you. I think they're scummy myself. I don't really use them too often. If I'm going to do anything, I'll do something like this. Just pop over the corner and then fire it there. I mean, it works. But if you wanted -0 degree of risk and you just wanted to sit in the corner and fire 2 of these, what do they call these things? What do they call them? Snake bites.
Toxin screen down.
I'm a Viper man. I feel like I should know what a snake bite is. So, with your snake bites, there are 2 lineups that I found for post plants on this one. First one being incredibly easy. On this box, using the lineup we saw earlier, just line up with the middle of that snow there, and then just hold S until you get to a place where you can shoot it in that big box. Just hold W all the way back. Don't worry about changing anything. Just all the way backwards. Don't move your mouse at all until you get to something like this. Then just fire it. And, you know, like I said, these aren't super precise and they don't have to be. As long as they cover the area that you plant the bomb, they work. Very simple lineup, very easy to do in a pinch. Just line it up, back up, stop, and then fire. As you can see here, it'll work in just about every scenario. And there you go. Let's just say that they're, you know, pushing you incredibly hard. It's a 1v4. You have no chance of winning a gunfight. You can back all the way up to spawn, get into this corner here, and there are 2 ways of successfully lining it up, but I actually use both. So you see this star here, and you see this star here. Just make a triangle out of it. A right triangle, just go to the right of this one, to the bottom of this one, and make that triangle like so. And for the second part, you can see all the way in the bottom, the 4th indicator of your Viper pit, you're going to want to line it up with this wall here. Like I said, you could use either or, but I use both. I'd make the triangle and then move to the right until you can see right there, it is right under that line. And the reason I say that is because it has to be very precise. Too far left and it's not going to cover it. Too far right and it's going to hit up here. But if you do it right, it'll cut. I didn't have a lot of time to show you. And once you fire it, you can see it doesn't exactly cover it, but you still get hit regardless of where you are. And with the Viper snake bites being nerfed from 6.5 to 5.5, if you're going to be doing these lineups, you need to make sure that your orb is on the bomb as well. Without that orb, it's not going to kill. So just have that in mind, but those are your 2 lineups. There you go. Don't abuse them. All right. That's all I got to say. And I think that's it.